Dive in on Gotta Watch the Tape from cleveland.com. Doug Lesmerises, Scott Patsko, and Lance Reisland. And we are doing something new we have never done before. And we're breaking down Deshaun Watson as a Cleveland Browns quarterback. Lance is here to talk about Deshaun Watson from a film perspective. Lance, you have already written about Deshaun Watson at cleveland.com/Browns. Before we dive into the topics that Scott is going to lead us through, just like, what was it like breaking Deshaun Watson down as a football player with your coaching background, trying to just watch this guy and thinking about him now playing for the Browns?
When I watched I watched all of 220 and watched the games, individual cut-ups, some highlights, but I really like to watch the entire game. And the three things stood out. He can pick up those key third downs with his feet. He can keep plays alive in the pocket. He can make pretty much all the throws from inside or outside the pocket. What I really liked was his ability, especially as the year went along, to recognize the defense, what people were giving him, and then being able to use his arm talent and accuracy to kind of like take what he digested and make it happen with his arm and his accuracy. And then finally, what I think makes him very, very unique is his ability to improvise. He has the incredible ability to keep plays alive with his feet, which early in his career kind of got him in trouble with some sacks, but has really that really separates him. He can take a play that I on the film review, I watched a number of the levels concepts that the Browns love to run off play action, and there's a number of times where he completes it just as the Browns would, but there's other times where the play breaks down, seemingly dead, and he's able to make something out of nothing, which is super impressive. So yeah, as a football player, he's pretty talented.
So listen, you guys know the deal here. As we talk about this, Deshaun Watson faces more than 20 civil suits from different women alleging sexual misconduct. I almost feel like we don't have to mention that as a disclaimer on every podcast, but we are going to talk about Deshaun Watson as a football player because he's here as a football player. We, of course, are not losing sight of that. That still is very important, but this is sort of a film and numbers breakdown of Deshaun Watson as a quarterback. So Lance, you were just sort of talking about some of those under pressure improvisational moments. Scott, that's where you sort of want to start us, right? Deshaun Watson under pressure. What do the numbers tell us about what he did with the Houston Texans?
In 2020, Watson ranked third in PFF offensive grade under pressure. He was only behind Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. He threw 10 touchdowns, which was tied for fourth, against only 4 interceptions under pressure. And I've mentioned this one stat before. It's called big time throws. It's a PFF creation, tracks passes that have, they define it as excellent location and timing, usually farther downfield and into tighter windows. He ranked third with 17, but his big time throw rate per pass attempt, just his rate of doing that alone was 11.1%. And that was best in the league. So when he's under pressure, he comes through. Remember, this was 2020. The year the Texans were a mess. They traded away DeAndre Hopkins. They fired their coach after an 0-4 start. They ranked 31st in rushing yards per game. They had a bunch of injuries. They were 4-12. They came to Cleveland, lost to the Browns in that crappy weather game. And yet Watson had one of his best years. So like you've heard quarterbacks defined as a truck or a trailer. Like we can all agree that Deshaun Watson is a truck, and 2020 really kind of plays into that.
And then everything fell off the trailer.
Correct.
He didn't know about it, but it was one of those, how you're driving somebody down the highway and there's a rocking chair falling off their truck and it's like the tarp fell off. It's like, why didn't you tie it on more? Stuff fell off his trailer, but he did a good job driving. He was at the wheel, right? It's not his fault.
Well, they had like 10 games that were decided by 1 score or less. And it wasn't because Deshaun Watson wasn't coming through or he wasn't making the plays to win those games. It was, he was helping put them in position. That kind of plays into this. And then what we'll talk about a little bit later with fourth quarter performance. But he's been among the league leaders with at least 10 big time throws under pressure in each of the last 3 seasons. So again, it's a pattern of good play over his last 3 seasons. So he's also had a top 10 rushing grade when under pressure in each of his last 2 seasons. And that's important to note because I think, as we all know by now, Watson will give the Browns some mobility at quarterback that they haven't had with Mayfield. And Lance is going to get into this as well. But with that mobility, there's a lot of self-inflicted pressure like mobile quarterbacks tend to be among the league leaders in creating their own pressure. You know, they're guys who are stringing out plays and trying to make something happen because they know they can do that, as opposed to someone who can't move, who's checking down quickly. Let's get rid of the ball before that pressure gets to me. Watson ranked second in the league in own pressures in 2020. Patrick Mahomes was first, Russell Wilson third, Lamar Jackson fourth, Josh Allen fifth. So you get the picture, all pretty mobile guys. Watson was also second in 2019. Jacoby Brissett, by the way, was first that year in creating his own pressure. And in 2018, Watson was again second to Mahomes. Now, when it comes to avoiding sacks on those pressures, like pressure is one thing. As we know, as I've said, he performs well under pressure, but you really want to avoid having those pressures turn into sacks. He hasn't been as good as, say, Patrick Mahomes, who's ranked near the bottom of the league when it comes to pressures turning into sacks the last 3 seasons. That only happens about 11% of the time to Patrick Mahomes in his career. Watson has been ranked higher. He's like 10th, 16th, 13th in that range. About 20% of those pressures turn into sacks every year. So it's something he can get better at. But he's going to be better than what the Browns have had in that area for sure. And he's joining a team with one of the best offensive lines in the league. Like the Texans were pretty good last couple seasons that Watson played. They earned a PFF pass blocking grade in the top 10 in each of his last 3 seasons. But the Browns ranked first in 2020 when everybody was healthy. They were really good last year. I think they were still top 10 despite all the injuries. So that could help reduce Watson's pressures. It opened the door for even more of those big time throws, with or without pressure.